Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. Hosts Melanie Johnson and Jen Foster are the owners of Elite Online Publishing. They're both Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. We're really glad you're here because this podcast was designed for you. Meet industry experts that share their secrets and strategies. Get successful results for your business in money, relationships, health, and your life. Each episode is going to inspire you to take action towards reaching your greatness.
This is Melanie Johnson along with Jen Foster for another great podcast. Hey, Jen, how are you doing today?
Doing great. It's a wonderful day.
It sure is. And you know what? One of our favorite topics is social media, how to grow your social media, because I just feel like everybody gets on this hamster wheel, including us, of how do you do it? What's the best way to do it without just killing yourself while you're trying to do the whole thing? Well, we have an expert who's not written one, but two books, Hook Point and 1 Million Followers, which I haven't gotten his new book, but I have the other one. And he is going to tell us how to stand out in a crowd without it being so painful. All the great strategies on how to do this. So let's dive in. Brendan Crane, thanks for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to connect with you and everybody that's listening to this.
Great. Well, Brendan, tell us how you got into the industry and how you build up your company to work for all these amazing celebrities and entrepreneurs and businesses.
Oh, yeah. By the way, he's worked for Taylor Swift and Rhianna. All right. Just hello.
Yeah. So I started actually in the film industry. I wanted to be a film producer. And when I moved to LA in 2005 to pursue a career in film, it's when the entertainment industry really started to reawaken to digital after the dot-com bust. And while I was in college studying film, I actually started a few internet companies really just to learn and experiment. Because when I showed up to film school, I quickly realized they teach you nothing about business there. So I figured I should find out, what it takes to create and launch and manage a business. And the most cost efficient way at the time, and still holds true today, was online companies. So when I showed up in LA, I just leveraged that knowledge to really stand out. And that's, the whole point of the second book, because when I showed up and people would ask me, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to produce films. I could just see everybody's eyes glaze over, because I was one of millions of people with that. So I just leveraged that knowledge I gained in creating those internet companies to basically tell executives, directors, and producers, listen, I have this expertise. I can help you tap into these audiences and attract millions, in some cases, tens and hundreds of millions of people to pay attention to your trailers, your clips, your story by tapping into these various traffic sources. So that's really how I got started. And I went from making coffee for these producers to starting the first digital division for the first studio I worked for in just under a year, and then just kept continuing down that path.
I mean, you did so many tests. I mean, you did really literally thousands of posts and did the metrics on them to see what was working. And the world keeps changing. My son's in the Instagram world and he's like, Mom, this worked like last month. It's not working this month. What do you do? What are you suggesting in today's climate that gets someone's attention in 30 seconds or less? Really, that's 5-10 seconds to grab them right away.
Well, the fundamentals of social content and social media haven't shifted and will not shift from the two core principles that you have to master. It's one, are you grabbing that attention in the first 3 seconds? Are you stopping the scroll? And two, once you stop the scroll and earn that attention, how long are you holding it for? Because the algorithms have one job and one job only, and that's to keep people on the platform longer. That's how they make money. So the algorithms are in search for the content that does that retains the end user as long as possible. And if you can master that, it doesn't matter what changes in the platforms or the algorithms. Like if you master those two principles, you'll ultimately be successful. So there's many different tactics and tools that you can use to do that. One is just effective narrative storytelling. Like I was just breaking down a video this morning that I found that went viral of it starts off the first 3 seconds of a boyfriend and a girlfriend texting back and forth, where the boyfriend says to the girlfriend, like, what would you want more than anything? Because she was away at college, like 1,200 miles away. And she was like, well, I would love to see you. And then the rest of the video is of him making this journey to go and see this girlfriend. So in that, it's a very simple story structure, but what it's doing is, it's grabbing your attention with this kind of text back and forth, because you don't typically see that in the first few seconds. So it captures your interest. And then secondarily, it's holding your attention because you know what's going to happen at the end. He's going to surprise her. But we want to see that reaction. What is it going to look like? What is that emotional connection going to feel like? And that's why that video went viral, and so many other videos that use powerful narrative storytelling work for that, because we're trained as early as childhood that once a story started, when we remember back to bedtime stories, or maybe you're telling your kids bedtime stories, they always want to know the ending. They want to see what's going to happen at the end. And that plays to exactly what the algorithms are looking for.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because the scroll stopping, you want to get them to stop scrolling, and you want to get them to stay on your video or your content. So how is it only video, or how do you get those engaging posts that will get people to stop scrolling if it's not a video that you're using?
The same principles apply for image-based. It's like, okay, well, how are you stopping people with that visual, and then holding their attention with something like the caption, or creating something that sparks a conversation where somebody wants to comment on what is being expressed. So the perfect example of this is an account called Humans of New York. So it was a photographer, and he started just taking portraits of people, random people in New York City. And it wasn't really the image that was, holding the attention. It was the captions. He was telling the stories, these amazing stories about these individuals, their lives, their relationships, their struggles, their heartaches. So again, it's about how do you really grab that attention with the visual, which sparks it, but then how do you hold that attention with either the story you're telling around that image, or the way to invite a conversation with the person that just stopped to view it.
Yeah. And then you talk about the acceleration and demand for your brand. And you say, like, give stuff away. So is it the same thing? Is it still with storytelling? Are you giving your deep, dark company secret sauce of what you do away to people?
It depends on kind of the use. Like there's different modes of communications and that we use for us and our clients, and there's different objectives behind it. So there's organic versus paid social media. There is email and LinkedIn outreach. So each communication method, or each communication outlet that we use, warrants a different type of style. Now, at the end of the day, it's what is either the story that you're telling, or what is the greatest pain point that you're solving within your individual consumer audience's mind and their conscious mind that attracts them to working with you, or attracts them to engage with your brand.
That's deep. I love that.
Yeah, I think that your content is so good. Like just listening to some of the 1 million followers book, you have so much great content. So let's talk about your book, Hook Point. So how did you, let's talk a little bit about the writing process, and then we'll talk about what's in the book. But how did you come up with that title? Because that title alone is a scroll stopper. So that title alone makes people want to know more about the book.
Well, again, based upon our experience, I will not even consider a book until I know what the cover is, what that hook point is. I won't do anything, whether it's a book, an article, an email, any piece of content, unless we know what that way it's going to stop that scroll or get people to pay attention to it. So there's kind of like a dual purpose to the second book. One is, 1 million followers was super successful. However, it was pigeonholing my experience just to social media. And social media is just a tool that we use. My background is building business, helping people stand out at the highest level. Social media is one aspect that we do it, but I know how to help people get into major boardrooms and close major deals. That's like how I close like a Taylor Swift or Rhianna or an MTV or a Vice magazine, is understanding these principles of how do you stand out. Or going back to the initial story of how I started in the film industry, it's notoriously hard to break in and excel at it. So I took a step back and I said, well, what am I really best at? Because, social media, again, is like, we're good at it. We have good results, but it's not the only thing that we do. And, after taking some time to consider that, the answer to that question, that's where the framework and the concept of a hook point came in, because that's really at the core, my core area of expertise is how to really stand out, grab attention, get people to pay attention to do what you want them to do, no matter what the medium is.
And then how do you sustain it? Like, you get the hook, you do it. Is there, once you hit that, like, I want to say it's like cryptocurrency, you spike up, but then are you going to spike back down? How do you maintain that? Like, you might have something that goes viral, but then you might have crickets.
Yeah. So there's three key components to an effective hook point. One is grabbing the attention, because without that, you don't rise above the noise. And the second is holding the attention, because attention with no substance doesn't mean anything. And then the third is monetizing that attention, because if we don't turn that into sustainable revenue and growth for our business, then it falls flat. So the way that we solve that problem that you just pointed out is, one, once we've grabbed the attention, we make sure that we're telling an effective story. And that story could just be a narrative story like we broke down for social media, or it's a story playing into a specific consumer's pain point. And then, we monetize that attention by having a solid business foundation or solid business model to funnel that attention into a specific action that we want people to take. And again, this plays to a organic social media post. It applies to paid social media posts. It applies to going into a boardroom and having a conversation. The principles are the same no matter what interaction that you have around your brand. Obviously, the way that you contextualize it or package it may differ based on whether you're meeting somebody in person or pushing a piece of content to somebody through their mobile device.
Yeah. And having that engagement, that's like, I think where I always come up with I fall short on is the engagement, because you can grab their attention and you can, get them to maybe stay, but then converting them and having that engagement, you got to have that, or else, like you said, you fall short. You don't convert, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that most people are running into the issue of first grabbing that attention, because if you don't grab the attention, you have no shot of having them take an action.
And having
there's other people that struggle with both grabbing and holding the attention, but that's really engagement comes after you've done those two things. You can't really get somebody to engage until you've gotten them to stop and gotten them to kind of pay attention to what you have to say and the value that you're offering them.
Well, how did you take from, starting being good at social media, working for the film industry, to be getting people like Rhianna and Taylor Swift as clients? Because so many people don't know how to take that jump to connect with bigger celebrity type people.
Again, it's solving problems. Is like, any meeting that I would go into, it was not about me. It was not about me trying to sell something, pitch something. I would just really understand the specific individual that I was talking to. And once I understood how they perceive the world, what their greatest challenge and obstacle was, then I would provide a solution to it. And sometimes that solution was me. Sometimes the solution was a partner, but it was all about providing that value. And the minute that you do that, people at the highest levels see you as an asset, not somebody that is trying to sell you something. Because that is the biggest thing, is when you're operating at a higher level, they have thousands of people trying to reach out to them to get something from them. Whereas I'm not trying to get anything from any of these people. I am trying to help them. And again, that may be me helping them. It may be somebody else. But I don't go in there with the mindset of what can I get out of this meeting? What can I get out of this person?
Mm-hmm. That's great. Giving back. You can't never go wrong with giving back. Okay. So tell us, how do you find the next thing? How do you predict the future? I mean, the social media is changing so much. So how do we predict the future of what's next?
I don't predict the future. My philosophy is I'd rather be late than early, because you could burn yourself out. Like it just, to me, there's so much opportunity with what's in the present. Why try and predict it? Now that's just me. That's the way that I operate. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's just how we've had success. Now, if you're
Because
really,
Clubhouse is new, right? So do you jump on Clubhouse right away, or you're saying be late to the party and see how it folds out because it might disappear like some other
yeah,
platforms?
I played around with it and I stopped using it because I saw some fundamental flaws with it in terms of people burning themselves out, especially the true influencers that adopted it early on. And again, is like, I want to see like, well, how far does it go? Let other people make the mistakes and let other people figure out how to make it work. Now, does that mean that that you may miss out on an opportunity to get in early? Yes. But even if you're early to something, that doesn't mean you're going to master it. So again, that's just my philosophy. But like, listen, if you want to predict the future of where all this is going, just look at the hardware. The hardware dictates everything. So go to CES, see what the latest, iPhone or mobile device, where is that going? Where is, mobile devices in general going? That's really how you predict the future. It's not where I spend a great deal of my time because it's not really where our core expertise is. Our core expertise is on the now and helping our clients in the now maximize their potential and really stand out above the noise.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, just being present. I think a lot of times we do focus too much on the future and not thinking about the now. And the now is what we have right now, right? So
yeah, and I'm not saying that
great.
It's not valuable. There's some people that they make a fortune off of focusing on the future and predicting the future. It's just not where we choose to spend our time. So I'm not by any means diluting that because there's immense value there. But for a majority of our clients, that's just not where their head is at.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, we can't thank you enough for being here today, Brendan. It's been a great interview. We learned a lot and you've just been fantastic. Is there any last things you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I mean, to really get good at this, it just takes practice. It takes time. If you really spend the time to learn and not just do, like that's one of the biggest mistakes people do is like, especially with social media, they just keep posting and posting. They just think consistency, but they never actually stop to learn. Why did this work? Why did this not work? So if you're always seeking the answers and testing, you will ultimately find the way.
Does posting help without engagement? I mean, so many people I see, they're posting really well, like you said, but they're not getting any engagement. So is that still helpful?
Well, if they're posting and not getting engagement, then they're not doing it properly. So, what I see is people keep doing the same thing over and over again, and they're expecting different results. But that's just like when we work with clients or in our stuff, we do a single iteration process. We focus on one piece of content at a time. We set a hypothesis before we create it. We test it. We've analyzed, did our hypothesis hold true or not? And then we use those learnings for the next piece of content. Most people are just producing, and they're never analyzing. They're never setting a hypothesis. They're never pivoting. They're never switching. They're never doing research of what is working, what's not working out in the ecosystem. And that's why people fail to generate engagement.
It's all about the metrics, stopping to do the metrics. And, when small business owners, especially, they don't have time to do that. That's why they need to outsource this, but you don't always have the revenue to do that. So you're trying to wear all of those hats.
Yeah, but listen, I don't know that I buy into the lack of time because you could spend 15 minutes a day and do it. I don't expect people to spend hours, but like I would say every small business owner is on social media, just personally. So take that time when you're on social media personally to take an active approach instead of a passive approach. When you see a piece of content that's got millions of views, research, well, why? Why do I think that? How can I apply those learnings to my next piece of content, even if it's not in the same industry? And same on the flip side, as you see a piece of content that doesn't have a lot of engagement, hypothesize, well, what's wrong with this? Why is it not stopping people? Why is it not holding people's attention? So I think that people kind of psych themselves out of even just spending 10 minutes a day. I'm not expecting people to spend hours, but just start somewhere.
Is it okay to look at businesses that are similar to yours? And like you say, you see something that's going great for them, that's getting a lot of engagement, innovate what they have, take what they have, not necessarily copy it verbatim, but do something similar and then test. Is that okay to do?
Yes, but I will say that a majority of your competitors are probably not doing it right. because it's like 99% of people at social media are failing at it. And so what we are typically doing with our clients, yes, we will look at the competition, but it typically is telling us what not to do instead of what to do. And then we will go outside of that competitive landscape to find formats and structures of people that are doing it well, and then figuring out how we can apply it to this industry. So, when we're helping somebody stand out above the competition, it's identifying the patterns of what the competition is doing so that we can break them. So we don't want to do the same as our competition because A, it's probably not really working for them, or B, we don't want to do the same thing because it's not going to help us stand out.
Right. That makes sense.
Well, tell us a little bit where we can go to find you. If you have a couple websites and where people can go to get your book.
Yeah. If people want to learn more about the work that we do, they can go to hookpoint.com. They can get the book there. The books are available anywhere books are sold. I recommend, even if you're really interested in social media, start with Hookpoint. It's really sets the foundation for how you grab that attention, hold that attention, and monetize it. And it's the first place that you want to start if you're looking to master social media.
Terrific. Thanks, Brendan. We really, really appreciate you coming on our show today. So remember to subscribe to our show and to share it with your friends. We would appreciate that. And if you're looking to write a book and become an author, contact us at Elite Online Publishing, where we guarantee we make our authors #1 bestsellers. And put in your submission form right there at the website. We don't work with everybody, but we'll see if we're a good fit for you. And we'll see you next time right here. Have a great day.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.